All right, Luke. You see them every year. This year, they're in triad by the thousands, and sometimes can be pretty annoying as they drive their cars through our parks, and sometimes even shit in our water sources. The question remains, though, Luke, are their numbers increasing? And if so, why?
Now, Grant, as much as I do love a good pronoun game, what they are you talking about?
Well, I was talking about human beings, but
Makes
you'd be
sense, yeah.
forgiven if you thought I was talking about geese, because in Greensboro, North Carolina, they wrote a
Ugh.
piece talking about the overwhelming, quote unquote, number of geese that are migrating to their city.
Again, I don't understand how people are upset with this. Do people not understand that you need animals in your ecosystem to make things happen? Do you think the world would keep spinning without geese? I know it wouldn't.
It wouldn't. You know who it would keep spinning without?
Tell me.
People.
Yep.
People like the Goose Masters. Luke, do you know who they are?
No, enlighten me, please.
It's an organization that brings in dogs to
Dogs?
move geese out of areas where they are causing a problem.
Like the animal.
Yeah. Gwen Kui Kendall, I'm going to go with, that's how you say that last name, is someone with them. And she says that they just better get used to the geese, that people just better get used to these geese being there. And you know what, Luke? I think she's damn right.
Yeah,
We've
I'm
been
on
saying it
Gwen's
almost
side
every
here.
episode. Yeah.
She's
That
the Ruly Geese of the week. Ruly Goose of the week.
Anyway,
But
though, she claims that this is due to migratory patterns and that these birds realize that the climate's more tolerable here. And you know what it is? I fucking like North Carolina way more than I like the Northeast. It's cold. Also, the pigeons are mean in New York.
yeah, no kidding.
Everyone knows
Pigeons
it.
run shit there. They have little pigeon mafias with pigeon mob bosses. You don't fuck with pigeons there.
Dude, it's disgusting. And so, of course, we're going to end up in Greensboro, Carolina. It's a fantastic excursion and vacation spot. And she's right. Gwen is right. This does explain why we take our time and show up in Greensboro, and we don't go any further north. When we're coming back from the south, it's been a hard winter. We're here to stay, Greensboro. Better get used to it.
Because, really, there's only one time when we're aggressive. And that's when it's nesting season. And I mean, who isn't aggressive in nesting season? Look at any millennial right now.
Yeah, I mean, people call it cuffing season, but it's still the same thing. I've seen fucking brawls when I'm flying around some of these college campuses during cuffing season, Luke. Men and women just getting into it in the streets over who gets to go home with someone who's just as crazy as they are, fighting with someone else on the other side. Like, what?
Yeah, remember our pal Harvey
How's
lost
this
his
all
wing?
a goose problem?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Don't 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 just box this in on us. Get that log out of your own eye.
Whatever, man.
Yeah, I heard Ray Lewis saying something similar the other day.
Welcome to the Unruly Geese podcast.
So, Grant, don't know if you know this, but there was a football game on Monday, and it was
Just a
not an
single
NFL
football
game.
game?
Yeah, only one.
Oh, what?
It's our last Monday with football for way
Huh?
too long, and I think that's what we should really be talking about. But no, the national.
What are we talking about instead?
The national championship that happened on
Yeah.
Monday. Yeah, really
I didn't
boring
watch it.
game. Yeah, I technically watched it. My body sat in front of a screen while it was on, and yeah, it was as most people expected. Bama just dick whipping Ohio State.
That's what I heard. Maybe in more elegant terms, but that is what I heard.
I don't know if there was any elegance to what Ohio State did on the field, but it looked like it was going to be a game for a second there. And I saw,
Say,
yeah, it was 17-17, I believe, before Bama started pulling away. Devontae Smith went off, and he only played like one half. But yeah, ultimately, really boring game. Did you see the picture of Mac Jones with his shirt off after the game?
oh God, no, I don't. I don't know. Do I want to?
Oh, it's just a 10 out of 10 dad bod, and for that dad bod to be the winner of a national championship just makes my dad bod a little happy. Gives me hope.
I mean, everyone knows like quarterback is in the right system can be the least athletic position on the field, but the most like mentally taxing.
Oh, no kidding. And when I was in high school, we played this team who had literally a 230-pound quarterback, is what he was listed as. And he just sat in the back. He could throw a really good ball. But
Jesus,
maybe
Christ.
putting him in this game would have been more interesting than what we got. Ohio State just didn't play the last three quarters.
I mean, it looks like they did put up a fight. I'm looking at the box score. They put up a fight there for about half of the second quarter, but then Bama just fucking yeeted them.
Yeah, I
Scored
forget
two more
that
times
point
in the
where
last 5 minutes, and then got the ball right back. It looks like, and went up 17-38. When the last time OSU had really probably gotten a chance was 17-21. Like, that's wild, dude.
Yeah, real well coached game from Alabama all around. But
I got a question for you, real quick. Is Jake Seibert, the OSU kicker, any relation to Austin Seibert?
Austin Seibert, I did wonder that during the game.
The OU kicker. My Google's running real slow. So
yeah, he's kicking for the Seibert. Austin is kicking for the
Browns,
the
right?
Bengals now. Yeah, the Browns cut him.
Oh.
Get this. Austin Seibert does have a brother named Logan, and he is kicking for the University of Akron right now.
Oh,
and then there's also a Seibert, which Akron's also Ohio. I
was going to say that's
Austin's
Ohio.
from Ohio, so maybe it's like a cousin.
That's wild. Too bad he couldn't do anything to help him either way.
Yeah, I think he got a couple field goals in, but yeah. No.
He did. He tried. Like, good for him. But
yeah, less extra points than he wanted to kick, though. But what my main takeaway from the game, though, was that I really didn't care about either of these teams. And yeah, it was going to take a lot for me to root for either Alabama or Ohio State. Those aren't teams I'm usually ever going to choose to root for. But it made me wish they had expanded the playoffs, because then at least you have like your team for the playoffs. Like this year, like week 16, I put $10 on the Bills to win the Super Bowl, and I've been diehard Bills since then. And in other times, I wouldn't care. So I think this is another reason to expand the playoffs. Of give me some team of destiny to root for. Like, take the basketball tournament, for example. By the Sweet 16, I'll have a team picked out of that in other seasons I might hate, I might be indifferent towards, but I'll have a team picked out that I'm riding or dying with. But when you just have a 4-team playoff, you don't get that. It's too small.
yeah, no, that's true. And I think that, I don't know. I mean, I guess that my biggest issue is the fact that these teams didn't have any, at least this year, there's no sense of like continuity. There's usually kind of that sense going conference to conference in just the variation of the teams played. But this year especially, we look at Ohio State, who I think finished, the championship was like their 7th game?
It was their 8th, yeah. They finished 7-1.
Okay, so 7-1 up against Bama, who finished, I have it right here, 13-0. So literally 6 more games than Ohio State played, and that's all because of the Big Ten's incompetence in understanding how to, I mean, I don't want to say combat, because the NCAA failed at combating COVID. That's clear based on just Ohio State's record, but had they started the season at a reasonable time had they had like any competence in getting the season together, or it's just any continuity across conferences and like a better understanding of what that would look like, then I don't know. I think the season would have turned out very differently, and ultimately that would lead into a governing body outside of the fucking bullshit committee that can say, here's how you get in, here's how you're guaranteed a spot, here's how we're doing it, and I don't know. I'm just ranting about it now, but
Yeah, but let's see. They had 3 games canceled. They had a game at Maryland canceled, who Maryland was kind of good, especially when they were at home. They have Tua's little brother. He's their quarterback. That could have been a game. They had the game at Illinois canceled, which you can chalk that one up. But there is that chance that Ohio State blows a game they shouldn't, like they usually do.
I think the issue for me is just like all the games that got canceled are usually the games that Ohio State either like plays down in or just gets mollywopped by someone playing up to them. And so that's the thing that frustrates me is, yeah, Alabama did go 13-0 and rolled everyone they played, but they still played everyone on their schedule. So
because the third game that Ohio State didn't play was Michigan, which I feel like this would be the year that Harbaugh would have pulled it out. Not due to any skill of the Michigan football team. This just feels like the year Ohio State finally plays down to Michigan. And
I think
Michigan
they would have. I
takes
think they would have
advantage
gotten
of that.
popped. Yeah. But no, I mean, back to your original point. Yeah, I think this just, even if the games, because I guess the ultimate thing is like, well, Alabama just plays at a level higher than most college teams anyway, allegedly. And so, with that in mind, it's like, well, why would you just want to watch them roll someone else? But it's like, well, they may not have been going up against Ohio State, and they may have been going up against someone with a competent defense or someone who was used to seeing a high-flying offense and could roll with them. Like, because, for example, I'm going to be a little bit of a homer, but if Oklahoma ended up in that game or ended up playing Alabama, I know that last year we got stomped by LSU in a similar situation, but if we had a high-flying team that we can roll with and a defense that can at least give some pushback, I think we could have done a hell of a lot better than 24 points. I guess the point is that we don't know that until they expand the playoff, until they give more teams a chance, until they let Cincinnati and Coastal Carolina in. In spite of them losing their bowl games, I still think that did they both lose? I know that I saw Coastal Carolina did.
Yeah, and then Cincinnati lost, even though they shouldn't have, to Georgia. Georgia was losing the whole game. So Cincinnati, I think, proved that they had a bit of a point, saying that they should be included in these. But
I mean, we say that every year, though. Like, UFC had a bit of a point. Wasn't Memphis the other team from a couple years ago?
yeah, Memphis.
Like, they always do well in their bowl game, and then it's like, yeah, I guess you have a bit of a point, but it's like, there's nothing we can do about it.
Right, which, yeah, not to beat a dead horse, but that's exactly why we need to expand. Because let's just hypotheticalize for a second that, say, the top 12 teams got in, we went to a normal NFL schedule. Then you still get, from the AP final top 25, you still get A&M, Georgia, Oklahoma, Cincinnati, Iowa State, Northwestern, BYU, and Indiana involved.
Yeah.
I think one of those teams could play the game of their life in a scenario here and maybe make a bit of noise.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely would have been more interesting. I don't know. At this point, it's more worth it to look forward. I think there are definitely some teams who proved this year that they can, give a different color scheme to one of the 4 spots, as long as we do have 4, though. I'm going to start us off because I think I've been saying it since they came to Norman when we were still there and beat us. I think Iowa State is dangerous, and it's going to be interesting because they lost their quarterback, didn't they?
No, I think he's still here.
Okay,
let me
he's
pull
still
that
here.
up.
It's going to be interesting either way because as long as he's still there, I think they'll continue to get better. It'll be interesting when they have to move to someone else to see if it's like a system guy, if it's a new young hot shot. But I think they're the next team to really give it a run that isn't one of the Oklahoma, Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State teams, Notre Dame, I guess, kind of, unfortunately. But I think Iowa State's probably top of my list for teams that can make the most noise and kind of play disruptor. Um, any Pac-12 team that's good enough to finally show up, but we're gonna need one of them to not get cannibalized by the rest of the conference for that to happen. So
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the other thing the playoff has done is made that line between the top 5 or 6 teams and the line between the next group of, let's say, 10. So the line in between 5 and 10 and the top 15 has made those even more drastic because now you have to out recruit these people that have been consistently competing in the playoffs the past 6 years to even get to the playoff, and that's what's really hard to do. So I don't know if I see any of these teams that were saying they had a chance to getting in the next couple of years.
I mean, I don't know. What's the most realistic team that you think could disrupt the monotony here, though? Like, I think, because like I said, I think Iowa State. Unfortunately, I think Texas A&M's probably in a good position just based on the pedigree of their conference. If they can do what they did this year again, and then actually get a shot in the championship game, then in the SEC championship game, then I think they could get there. That may not be a different color, but that's the same or a different team at the very least.
But I think whoever wins, yeah, there's always going to be a spot for Texas A&M, for Florida, for Tennessee even to jump up and have a year that LSU had last year, run the table in the SEC, and then compete for a championship because there's no way the SEC champion isn't getting in. So there's always a chance for one of those SEC teams. I think, though, it is going to come from the Big Ten. I think a team like Wisconsin, like Minnesota, like Penn State, even. I don't think like Northwestern. I don't think they'll sustain that success. But I think Ohio State's margin of error is much more thin than anyone else's. So I think the Big Ten is more likely to produce that team that will break into the playoff and give us a change there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we were very realistically on track to send Indiana into the playoff this year had the conference not pulled its bullshit to send chalk, which is literally the only reason why. Like, you made this rule in the beginning anticipating that people were going to cancel games, and then when one of your big names cancels too many games for your liking, you're like, well, shit, we didn't think this rule would apply to them. Like, fuck off. Anyway,
right,
though, yeah. I mean, I think the ACC has the best chance to give us someone surprising. I don't know if Miami's surprising, but they're always a big name. UNC, if they want to show back up, yeah, but
that's going to be tough though, losing both their running backs.
Oof, that's true. I don't know. So basically, it comes down to nobody except for maybe somebody, but we don't know.
And that is some sports analysis brought to you by the Unruly Geese.
All right, Luke, this week, Marvel's first Disney, I guess solely Disney-sponsored series, because they did have those Netflix series for a little bit. But anyway, the first Marvel series dropping on Disney Plus airs this Friday, January 15th. And it looks wild.
Oh,
just off the top,
Wandavison.
It's going to be an 8-week event, as they like to say, with 9 episodes, 2 dropping on Friday, and apparently, from what I've heard so far, it is weird. Like, to the point where a lot of people, like I was listening to somebody talk about it today, and he was like, if you don't think it's for you, just hang in there. Like, the last few episodes from what we expect are going to be more of the Marvel Avengers stuff. But there's some people who've already seen the first 3 episodes. They're talking about how it's just weird in all the best ways, and I'm super here for it.
I love that. You know what else is weird in all the best ways that Paul Bettany is in?
What?
A Knight's Tale.
Dude,
And so,
it's the best. Don't even get me started.
oh yeah, it's the best. It's the best.
Yeah.
So if this can even get close to what that is in terms of like awesome weirdness, I'm sold.
Dude, I mean, It sounds really dope. So the coolest thing about this to me is that it was never planned to start off this phase in the MCU. Black Widow was, and that is gonna people expect that to play more with what is/was gonna happen originally in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Were
And
we
so
gonna get that between WandaVision and Black Widow? Was Winter Soldier or was the new Captain America in between, or was that always going to be after?
well, there's no like new Captain America as far. Are you
Right,
talking
right.
about Winter
The
Soldier?
new Captain America franchise movie.
Oh, okay, I get what you're saying. No, yeah. So it was originally going to be Black Widow, and then they never really said for sure. I know that at one point, Winter Soldier was planned for fall, and then WandaVision was planned for like winter of 2020. With the pandemic and everything, we've talked about the Winter Soldier storyline probably being changed because of the pandemic storyline in the original draft. But beyond that, I think WandaVision just had like shooting delays. Nothing changed because of the story, so that's why it got bumped.
They did
So I
have
think
to
originally
stop
we were
around
supposed to
March and then
Okay.
resumed again in September. So still a pretty good
damn.
gap there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why that got moved. But so I think that'll be really interesting because people expect the like of quote unquote Avengers level threat, like the worldly Earth threat in Phase 4, at least this first part, to be this new Thunderbolts team of Avengers, and like that's or like wannabe Avengers. I don't know. It's a whole thing. If it plays out, you'll see it. But anyway, people expect that to be expanded in Black Widow and in Winter Soldier. So I'm really curious to see what WandaVision does with the greater Marvel universe. I think it'll definitely lead right into, or maybe not right into, but it'll lead into whatever wildness is happening in Spider-Man 3 and in Multiverse of Madness with Doctor Strange, especially because Wanda's in that. Wanda is in that. And
Multiverse of Madness?
yeah. And I don't think we have any real confirmation on who the villain of that is, and I think there's a good chance that the like quote unquote villain of that is Wanda after she causes just a huge multiverse explosion at the end of WandaVision, then she'll end up being like the whatever they have to, or maybe she's like what they have to fix, in Multiverse of Madness.
Right. That
like
would be an interesting villain there to have Wanda either unknowingly or not on purpose ruining things and like have to fight that from that side of things of the hey, this is someone we actually need to preserve and care about, but we also need to stop. I feel like that's a trope Marvel hasn't done thus far.
Yeah, I feel like they could do it well too, like especially if it's something like Inside Out almost, where Wanda and Doctor Strange are going through her different levels of her psyche, and he's almost like their powers are different, but he's almost teaching her how to control and like how to be in control of your powers and shit like that, and just like mystical arts. We may see her by the end of that become like a true sorceress, like a true Scarlet Witch, rather than just the like name of it. Yeah, there could be something cool there where she gets wrapped up with the sorcerers. That'd be dope as hell, actually. But anyway, so back to WandaVision. So, first question, Luke. You know what it's going to be about?
Hit me.
Well, here's the thing. Nobody really knows. We have a few key guesses based on what we know is definitely going to happen. And what we know is definitely going to happen is that Wanda and Vision are in some weird, seems like pocket dimension that Wanda has created, where they keep jumping between different sitcom show realities. So we see the 70s like Brady Bunch looking one. We see an 80s one for a little bit, I think. We definitely see a 90s one that looks like it's a Full House, a riff on Full House. We see the more modern family looking, like current family multi-camera show style. That I think is going to be once she kind of starts to break out of that trapped headspace. We see 40s and 50s, like I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke, that type of shit. So basically, it seems like those are like different levels of her brain that people are jumping through. that they're jumping through into realization of what's going on, and it's that realization that we have no idea, like nobody knows what's going on, along with the characters. So
I am really excited to see what they do with Paul Bettany here. I we say these we list off these shows that have such um, key pivotal men that they're centered around, like, well, that are main characters in them. Like, obviously you have Mr. Brady and the Brady Bunch. You have Dick Van Dyke and I Love Lucy. You have I forget the guy's name, but the dad from Modern Family. That's a central part of that role, and I feel like Paul Bettany can spoof all three of those guys very well. So I hope they let him play into that a bit.
yeah, I hope a big part of the weirdness is just kind of letting the, like, for lack of a better term, like the creatives behind the scenes kind of flex, and like the people who know way too much about TV history that are on set and helping write this. There, I really hope that the weirdness that comes through is, at least in part, just the weird off the wall references and like the weird different riffs and shit like you're talking about that we can get on common sitcom stereotypes. And I just think it'd be really fun to see them play around with that. I also have heard that it's or read. I don't talk to anybody, so I don't know why I said heard, but I've read that it's really, really trippy, and so that could be interesting. Like, because again, it wasn't supposed to be the flagship. Here's Marvel Phase 4 program. Like, it ultimately is a TV show. Think about the Star Wars TV shows. Like, Mandalorian may be the biggest Star Wars property right now, but ultimately, like, I feel like people are looking forward to the next big tentpole movie release. Maybe not looking forward to, but there's a difference there in the types of stories that are being told, and so.
And
Like
Marvel is really doing the visually stunning aspect of movies really well. Like, let's think about the last couple of movies that have came out. The Spider-Man Far From Home, there's some really cool stuff with that and the drones and that art that was really trippy. Obviously, Infinity War and Endgame had incredible visuals. And Captain Marvel, there was some really cool, like, rainbowy, condensed colors in that one. And Ragnarok. So I hope they escalate it for the TV show. I'm interested to see what ways they come up with to escalate that. But yeah, in terms of like trippy visuals, Marvel's been doing really well with those lately. So I hope
I
they
didn't even
keep it
think
up
about
here.
that. Yeah, dang. Well, I mean, otherwise though, so basically, the plot of the show revolves around Wanda and Vision, who's also, we should mention, is dead. Like,
Oh
died
yeah,
in Infinity War like 3-4 years ago at this point. When was Infinity War? Was 2018, I think.
it was.
Anyway, so we don't know what the fuck's going on there. They have a baby, or they have twins actually, who in the comics are young Avengers and like X-Men. They're mutants in the comics, like Scarlet Witches, so they have innate powers. And so there's a lot of speculation that this could be setting up or helping to set up the Young Avengers movie that we're getting, or we expect to get, including Miss Marvel, her Wanda's two kids, Scott Lang's daughter from Endgame, and
Oh
Iron
no
Lad.
way.
Yeah. Then there's rumors that like Iron Lad, who is this whole time travel thing, but he's a young version of an older character that's being introduced in Ant-Man. Um, so
Because there
there's
is
basically there's a
another
lot of
really
rumors
interesting
that's
Ant-Man
being set up.
tie into this show, and that's that Randall Park is Jimmy Woo, the FBI agent who was Scott Lang's parole officer. And
Oh baby.
he's supposed to be working with Darcy Lewis, the girl from
Yep.
the first two Thors, to solve
Yep.
some sort of mystery.
With Monica Rambeau, whose character we saw as a young girl in Captain Marvel has now grown up to work with Sword as well. The woman in the trailer who has the necklace, and then I can't remember her name, but Captain Marvel's best friend's daughter.
Maria Rambeau. Yeah.
Yeah, Maria. So, her daughter from Captain Marvel is, we see her grown up in WandaVision, and she's part of the team that's trying to figure out what's going on with Wanda. I think
Yeah,
that'll be really interesting introduction to what like the next, because obviously Sword is an evolution of Shield. It'll be interesting to see what that turns into. Catherine Hahn is in it and might be related to Sword, but also might be some agent of chaos as well as their neighbor. So
yeah. Coming back to Monica Rambo though, and what we were
what do you got?
talking about with the mini Marvel, I forgot what the name of the kids Marvel
Oh, Young
property
Avengers,
is.
baby.
The what?
Young Avengers.
I'm gonna call it Mini Marvel. I like
All right,
that. So
fair enough.
the Mini Marvel thing, the executive producer of Wandavision was saying that Monica Rambeau's inclusion in the series was more of a discovery than being like researched and developed. That it wasn't quite mapped out, but quote became really enriched into the show. So I really think that is very much a possibility that this is kind of what starts the Mini Marvel franchise and has plays a big role into that.
I'm so confused by what that quote means, but
I
okay,
think it
man.
means
Whatever
that
you
they
say.
didn't have a place for
Well, I
Rambo in
guess
the
let me.
script before they got into it, but now they do.
Yeah, I guess let me rephrase that. Some of those words are being used strangely, and it confuses me. Like I understand the point he's trying to make, but he was like, it really enriches the like she was enriched. It's like what are you talking about, man? Just say that you didn't plan on her showing up, and then she fit in, and it worked out. Like
Yeah.
just use
True.
basic words.
Yeah.
But ultimately, so
Yeah.
expectations.
One
We've been kind of
final
just
before we
rambling on
get to
this.
there,
Oh,
sorry.
yeah, hit me. No, you're good.
One final person in this we haven't talked about and don't know much about is that Evan Peters has some role in this.
Okay, yeah, we do need to talk about this.
It could be interesting to see if that's as Quicksilver, if that's as another person still in the MCU. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with him.
I have two main theories. Neither are mine, so I'm not going to take credit for them, but I'm going to say them like they're mine. So basically, one is that he will partially form as the link to bring in certain Fox Marvel characters. For example, we're getting Deadpool. It was confirmed this week we're getting a Deadpool 3 with Ryan Reynolds reprising his role in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's going to be R-rated. It'll be the first like MCU R-rated movie, and so I mean, he's a character though they can bring in without having to do any like timeline jumping. They can just be like, he always existed. He's just doing Deadpool shit. But the point is that there is a small chance that Quicksilver from the Fox universe, being one of the most popular characters there, that could still realistically fit into the MCU, could be moving over along with some other Fox characters. There's also a lot of rumors around or theorizing around him playing some version of Mephisto, which would be dope as hell to see him basically be like phase 4 or 5. He would probably become, because he would face off with Doctor Strange too. I could very easily see him becoming part of a group of villains that would be rotating around the Avengers, kind of unstoppable, but ultimately like treatable. Like incurable but treatable. They can like keep them at bay, but they'll still attack occasionally type shit. And so that could be really interesting to see him become like a long-term villain that's just basically the devil, like the MCU version embodiment of the devil. I don't know. What do you lean towards out of those two? I lean towards it's probably going to be some cameo as Quicksilver and just be the cooler version of her brother.
So yeah, the main thing I was thinking about when you were saying that is I don't see Evan Peters as a villain. He just always has that quirky happiness, that the little smirk that always seems to nearly break the fourth wall and be like, "Oh, it's okay. We got this. We're going to save the day here."
But that's part of the fun if
that's
literally
why I
breaking
want
the fourth wall in WandaVision by breaking through like her little TV. Like there's a
so
literal
true.
embodiment of breaking the fourth wall in the show. And I think everything you're saying fits him into him playing like a smarmy, charming version of a devil rather than just like an outright evil one. He's like he's like the biblical antichrist to people who don't see through his lies, like that type of thing, where he's super charismatic, super. Yeah, what you got? You look excited.
I have my idea. I
Okay.
want it to be theory number 2 that he's Mufasu or
Mephisto.
He's some weird combination devil Mufasa. No, he's Mephisto. I want him to be that. And one of the bigger overarching villains of Phase 4.
Yeah.
But I don't want it to come out in WandaVision. I want them to slow burn that. I want him to be a part, maybe even a big part of WandaVision, and seem like it's a good guy, and then have one of the first twists of Phase 4 be that not only is whatever character Evan Peters is in WandaVision a villain, but also he's a much bigger villain and has much more powers than we originally thought. So downplay both the abilities that Evan Peter has and his tendency to be a villain in this series.
I think we'll get basically what you just said up until the credits roll on WandaVision, and then we'll get a post-credit scene that's like him emerging into the like real world as Mephisto, and then like having like one of those classic like evil eye like little flashes or doing some like devil shit with his hands that looks all evilly, and then it'll just leave it at that. So I think we'll end WandaVision understanding that he's bad, but like he's already tricked like the majority of the like I guess the strongest heroes in Wanda and Vision. Like if they're tricked into releasing him, which is what I expect will happen, and if it's then Evan Peters, I think we'll probably get a post-credit scene where he's like doing evil, twirling mustaches.
I do agree with you. I do hope that's not what they do. I think that's what Marvel will do just because of precedence. I want them to make.
What do the presidents have to do with this, Luke? Not everything has to be political.
Right. Not a political pod, whatever. No, I just want the Evan Peters' bad twist to be more of a heartbreak than me knowing it going into whatever movie he's in next. I don't want it to be a post-credit reveal. I want it to be a pivotal moment of a future property reveal.
See, I'm on board with you, and I get that. I just worry that with the way like the Marvel fan base is and the way they do their movies and like casting someone like that, you'd have to pull like a full bait and switch and have Mephisto be someone else in WandaVision, you know? And I don't know. I think that is a lot harder to pull off than just like twisting him at the end. So I think we both agree that what is most likely to happen is the like post credits one, but otherwise you could do it better. I feel like if you did the long term one, but I don't know.
But yeah, it comes out Friday. We're both excited to watch it. Maybe we'll live tweet as we watch it together. But that does bring up a good point. Please do go follow us on our social medias. We are Unruly Geese Pod. You can find us on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook, and on YouTube. So please go like, subscribe to all those. It helps us out a lot when you like and comment. So please do that.
Yeah. Wee woo, wee woo, wee woo. Oh no, Luke. What's that? Do you know what that is?
Is that a Woj bomb exploding in the distance?
No. What the fuck? No. It's an NBA trade alert.
Oh. So kinda.
Shut the fuck up. You shut the fuck up. Hey. Look at me. Yeah. That's what I thought. So let's talk about this trade now. You can unlock it. So this kind of came in a whirlwind. I saw earlier this week that Harden, or maybe this was last week, Harden had some quote where it was like, yeah, this team's really built well. I think we got something special here and we can make a run at it. And then last night, I read a quote. So this is Wednesday. So either last night on Tuesday or the day before on Monday, I read a quote where all of a sudden he just is like, yeah, this shit won't work. Fuck this shit. It's built.
Yeah, that was last night.
Out. Yeah, so that was last night. And then today, while I was playing video games, I played a game that made me put my phone down for like 45 minutes. And in that 45 minutes was when the trade happened. And so I was like, what the fuck? I thought like 3 days ago I read something that this was good, and then he blew up, and now he's in Brooklyn. So let's get started off. So headline is Houston trades
Crazy.
James Harden to Brooklyn. In return, Houston from Brooklyn gets what was his first name? I had it pulled up a minute ago. Rodion's Kurucs. They get 3 Brooklyn first round picks in 2022, 2024, and 2026, as well as I have 4 written down here, but there's only 3. They get 3 first round pick swaps with Brooklyn in 2023, 2025, and 2027. On top of that, they got Victor Oladipo from Indiana and Dante Exum from Cleveland, as well as a first rounder from Milwaukee that was ultimately Cleveland's pick. Indiana gets Karis LeVert and a second round pick. Cleveland gets Jared Allen and Taurean Prince, both from the Nets. So there's a lot to unpack here. You want to start at the bottom and work our way up?
Yeah, you know what I always think of when I think of Taurean Prince?
Hit me.
No, it's the interview of him after their first round loss in the NCAA tournament in 2016 to Yale, where some reporter was like, how does a team like Yale out-rebound you? And he's like, well, a rebound is when the ball comes off the backboard and you go up and grab it. And they did that more times than we did. Just thought that was always an all-time interview quote.
Well, I'd never heard that before, but
I'll send you the video.
The outlook of this deal for me, because now I think Cleveland has 2 winners instead of just 1. Because I've been a Jared Allen stan for a while, so I mean, like that doesn't make them that much better or worse. I think their guards have proven that they didn't need an aging Dante Exum and whatever. I think, like I said, it ended up being Cleveland's pick, but it was sent. Like, it was owned by Milwaukee, and so they consented to sending it. I don't know exactly how it works. I think for them,
it makes Cleveland more fun.
Yeah, it makes them more fun. It makes them younger, which is definitely what they're looking to do right now. It gives you... Torian's he's like a 4, right? A 3-4?
Yeah. He's 6'7", 218.
Oh, so you've got Andre Drummond and Kevin Love. That's who they have, right? Yeah, they have Andre Drummond and Kevin Love as your 2 big men teaching Jared Allen and Taurean Prince alongside your 2 guards who are actually playing well. Like, let's do it.
Yeah, I kind of love this for Cleveland. It's a fuck it. Why not?
Yeah, I think it's really nice. I have sorry.
I will say that first round pick that if I'm nitpicking here, that first round pick might be better than whatever the potential of Jared Allen or Taurean Prince, but I still like this for Cleveland.
I disagree.
You're Cleveland. You're still gonna have a higher pick.
Yeah.
That you still have your first round, and it's gonna be a high first round. So I don't hate it. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think ultimately, like, I definitely take if this ends up being, it looks like there's just a little bit confusion, as there usually is, on how these picks work out. Because now that I'm looking at it again, I see that it might actually just straight up be Milwaukee's pick, which is what you're saying. So that makes a lot of sense. But anyway, especially if it's Milwaukee's pick, who's gonna end up rolling in the top 4 or 5 teams in the league. Like, yeah, you give that up all day for Jared Allen and Taurean Prince. But moving on up, next up is Indiana. They gave up, as far as I can tell, only Victor Oladipo, and they got back Karis LeVert as well as second-round picks, maybe like compensatory picks as well. It seems like they might need a little bit more to make that money work, unless Karis is just making that much. But I think this is interesting for Indiana. I wish you could have gotten someone like maybe gotten a Joe Harris along with it, to add an extra shooter in case Karis goes cold like he tends to sometimes. But I'm a Domas believer, man. I think Sabonis has it locked down there in Indiana, and I think that this only adds to the growing cast of decent players he has around him.
I love this Indiana team. You can't forget about Dougie McBuckets there as well. So maybe he can fill in for Karras if he can still shoot somewhat. Yeah, this is a real fun team.
Yeah, and I feel like dropping Oladipo, it just takes away that safety net. It frees up some space for them to maybe make some dangerous moves with other trades because they still have Miles Turner, who they're actively trying to move off of. So it definitely opens them up for some interesting moves if they can find some of these overpaid bigs who want to go somewhere else, or even just a guard to trade and pair next to Sabonis.
Yeah. Which this kind of moves into, but talking about Houston now and Oladipo, Oladipo still gets to be the face of a franchise, even though he's kind of losing that to Sabonis.
For sure the main scorer, like the main scoring option, like.
How has remember when the Thunder got him from Orlando? Do you think he has performed on par, overperformed, or underperformed from your expectations when he signed with the Thunder to be the number 2 to Russ?
Dude, he's way overperformed. He got his shit in shape that season, and you could tell that he just wasn't comfortable as a 2 when he was with the Thunder, at least in my opinion. We were watching a lot of games, so maybe that played into it, but it was always obvious to me that he needed to be the 1, at least out of the guards. He could have a good big man to play off of, but he needed to be the ball handler coming up the court. And he proved that when he went to Indiana. And then just injuries have dogged him, and then Sabonis took over, and it kind of became a question for a little bit as well with other guards. But now Sabonis has taken over, and that's his team, and he just didn't fit into their system. But I think as a cutting guard who can be the scoring option, he can also play off ball. Like, basically, him and John Wall are interchangeable pieces to me at this point. Oladipo can shoot a little bit better, but you're running the same plays with either of them, whoever's bringing the ball up. That's not a knock. Like, that's a good thing, and I think that'll really help him. He kind of had that with Russ, but Russ was a lot more ball dominant than John Wall is. And you've got the cast, Kristen Wood and Boogie Cousins. Do they have Robert Covington? No, he's a Blazer, right? I think he's a Blazer.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, I think this Oladipo is in a really good spot for him.
Yeah, I think so as well. I didn't realize how little the Rockets had to give up. I guess it really is just Harden, but I like the post-Harden chapter of the Rockets now. I love that this came. The more I look at this roster, the more I nearly like the Rockets, as much as that nearly makes me throw up to say.
Dude, they've got a young stud in Christian Wood who they can use as the focal point, and then have all these other guys who are older, maybe a little bit, flagged by injuries, but they can ultimately be the swing players with a guy who can consistently give you a 30-10 double-double every night at minimum. Then you have I'm on board with this Rockets team, but that's not the end of this trade for the Rockets, because they also picked up Dante Exum, Rodions Kurucs, those 3 Brooklyn first rounders that Milwaukee pick, and the 4 Brooklyn first round swaps. I think it's technically a smaller haul, but I think it's a bigger win for the team trading away. Or no, I guess the Clippers didn't even trade away a superstar. They traded for a superstar. Oh my god. Okay. So who fucked up more? Brooklyn or the Clippers, do you think, ultimately? That was the question I was going to ask next. I think Houston got a better haul than OKC did, because they got Oladipo, a proven NBA star, rather than a prospect and a project like Shea. Though I love Shea and I think he'll be there. I think in a we want to keep fighting way, Houston definitely got a better haul, but
I do think the Clippers fucked up more, though.
Yeah, I agree.
Because this legitimately gives Brooklyn a better chance than they already had.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have the proof that the Clippers deal didn't pan out into anything. It led to a second-round loss to the Nuggets.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's still another year for them to get it to, I guess Paul
And I
George signed that
mean,
long
and we need to see
extension.
what Brooklyn does with this. I don't think Brooklyn is quite out of the woods yet. I'm not ready to write them into the bracket on the Eastern Conference representatives in the finals line, but this
I don't
does
know,
make
dude. So I'm okay. So let's look
it's
at the
theirs to blow. But all I'm saying
yeah.
is if any big three can find a way to blow something, it's James Harden, Kevin Durant, and Kyrie Irving.
See, I agree. I still give Kevin Durant like respect as a player enough to know that next to James Harden, I just think that's a great pairing because Kevin Durant settles a lot of the issues that James Harden has in that, he's not great on defense. He doesn't want to be or doesn't need to be, can't in a lot of cases also guard the best forward, let alone the best guard on the other team. Kevin Durant can do that on top of being an offensive killer, and he will, he's fine playing on ball or off ball. He proved that in Golden State. He can be bringing the ball up the court, or he can be the one that's, cutting around. And so either way, I think the biggest thing that they'll have to get over is that Kyrie, it'll be the Kevin and James show. I think Kyrie will still be a solid third option. I think he has pretty good probability of falling off pretty hard, especially. I mean, he's away from the Nets right now for, last I read, undisclosed reasons for an undisclosed amount of time, for like an unknown amount of time. So he's right now because of more problems than anything. So I think there's a pretty good chance that they end up trading Kyrie because they can probably see what you're saying. Like, the writing's on the wall. This is a volatile three group of personalities. If we can move off Kyrie and get some defensive-minded shooters, some 3-and-D guys to put around James and Kevin, then let's do it. So
I still don't think they're going to be out of the woods with Kyrie out of the picture. It's better, but
I don't know, man.
I think with Kevin Durant as set on proving he can win a championship without Steph and Clay, mix that with James Harden finally in big bright light city of New York, and with how little fucks he's clearly giving right now, I think that just seems like that's very combustible. You don't need much of a spark to light that.
That's true, I guess. I put more stock in the like new location for James Harden is going to change his outlook, especially if it's with Kevin Durant, who, when they were 23, were like one game away from beating LeBron, like from beating the big three. So like, yeah, I wouldn't be too worried. Like, I feel like you're putting a lot of stock into his mentality now, whereas I think even though he is kind of a shithead a lot, I think it'll change for a little bit in Brooklyn, and that might be just enough to get them over the hump. Because I mean, they're good for easily, just in their sleep, they can drop 30 a night and be fine, both of them. So
No doubt.
we start looking at, just
I'm
them
just
going
saying, when
up.
the
It's
problems come, and they're going to come, there's going to be a time this season where
100%.
those problems come. It's very combustible. It
No,
has
it
a
is.
very high potential of something going really wrong rather than like a Russ and James Harden combination where they just get pissed at each other.
But that went really wrong too. I mean, by all indications, Russ got traded away. Here's my one big, huge question: is there a way, do you think, for Act 3 of the eventual Thunderstruck 30 for 30 that someone's probably already basically put in the can, barring the highlights from the ends of these players' careers? When I say Thunderstruck 30 for 30, I mean like the big three.
What if I'm gonna trade machine? Sorry.
Well, no, here it is. I think I know where you're going. Is there a way for Russ to end up at Brooklyn while both Kevin Durant and James Harden are there to give the final? Because honestly, I think that pairing complements. I think Russ complements Harden and Durant way more, on top of the personal and narrative reasons for wanting them together. I think Kyrie and Beal make a lot more sense together. It just depends, man. Do you think there's any way for that to end up?
I do. I think we have to let some of the dust settle from this trade here before we trade machine it. But I think I think there's a huge way. I think the Nets are going to be looking to dump off Kyrie, like we just talked about.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a lot of sense.
He's the biggest, like, I don't want to be, like, sound like we're being dismissive of him or anything. I just think that he's the biggest single question mark that they have left on that roster. And if you can move him, like, Russ is a little bit more, like, he is a question mark as well. But with those three, the only thing I'd be worried about is, like, Kevin and Russ not vibing. But I feel like they're both at a point in their lives where they'd be like, no, yeah, let's do this. And if Russ is like, this is the best and definite, probably, or this is the best and probably most definite way for me to end up in the finals, let alone winning a ring before I retire, then let's do it. Imagine, though, if you will, a Lakers Nets finals with LeBron and AD and Schroeder and that team. This would probably be a couple of years down the line, but like next year rather than this season. But anyway, matched up against, once again, the big three from the Thunder, who are now playing together in Brooklyn.
That would be so much fun. And I would hate it, but I'd have to root for Brooklyn.
I mean, ultimately, I think if that's going to happen, here's the dream scenario. Harden's there with Kevin. Like, he had his issues with Russ near the end of their time at the Rockets, obviously, but I think that they can probably both chalk that up more to organizational shit and, like, the structure of that team rather than any animosity between the two of them. And so if Harden's like, yo, it's kind of nice playing with Russ again, to Kevin all season this year, we get to the offseason, the Nets fucked up because Kyrie did some dumb shit and is now running around blaming everybody else like he does, like he has in every other situation. Then Kevin's like, you know what? Fuck it. There's one dude who at the very least, like, he would talk shit on me, but he always owned up to his own shit. And so he calls up Jay-Z. He calls up fucking whoever runs the Nets and it's just like, yo, man, get Kyrie out of here. Send him to Washington. Give me
Send
Russ.
Kyrie and DeAndre to Washington and get Russ back.
Oh.
And it works. It works with the cap room. It works.
Dude, and then Kevin's big enough. I know he doesn't, or it seems like he doesn't like to, but he's big enough to play the 5. Like, definitely the 4. And so then you just have to fill in. Oh, that's dangerous. I like that. All right, that's my dream for the 2022 NBA Finals, is to see the reunion, the Thunderstruck reunion.
If that happens, does Sam Presti automatically have to GM for the Nets too all season?
Ugh, no, it doesn't.
Who is the Nets GM?
I don't know. I know that they were recently bought by that ownership group that has, not recently changed hands. I don't know.
But yeah, one final thought on this trade though. How much do you hate James Harden's guts if you're John Wall?
See, I don't know. It's like it's a different emotion than outright hate. If I'm James or if I'm John Wall, it'd be like a good riddance type thing, you know?
Because quote from him was, "It's only been 9 games. Come on, man, you want to jump off the cliff after 9 games?"
Yeah. See, like to me, that strikes me as more of like, if you're gonna go, like, you want to do that after 9 games, like, come on, man. But like, if you're gonna go, like, good riddance. Ultimately, like, we could have had something, but like, you weren't. If you weren't in it after 9 games, I don't want to be fighting with you after game 57 and then have you get traded away anyway, you know? Like, I would be like, good riddance. Now we have a team that can still make a run, and he went to the other conference, so if we want to beat him, then or if we want to play him again, we have to play him in the finals. I think this Houston team might make some noise in the West this year. They have a reason to. They have fun. A bunch of players. They have a reason to, and Oladipo has, like, he plays with a chip on his shoulder. He has one because he now got traded away from a team that he was leading a year ago. So, especially if they're all pissed at James Harden, they're like, the Nets are for sure coming out of the East, then we have to get there to be like to knock them down from the West. Oh, how beautiful would that be if it was Houston and the Nets in the finals, and Houston finally gets their ring by beating James Harden in the finals? What if that's the final bow?
That would nearly make up for how annoying the city of Houston would be after winning one.
Dude, I'd be on board with that.
he retires and goes and starts working at the strip club Lou Williams got the wings from.
Oh my god.
There's an after the NBA, yeah, later, and he's put on like 300 pounds and is just like very obviously a Orlando strip club runner.
They always used to say I choke eating like a plate of ribs. Don't choke
I
no
can't
more.
choke on this wing.
Yeah, just Jesus.
This throat can handle anything. Well, I gotta head south.
All right, brother, wings up.